In the vast and turbulent waters of the East China Sea, a quiet but intense game of cat and mouse is unfolding. But this doesn't look like a typical naval confrontation. This is a high-stakes battle of intelligence, technology, and strategy. Recently, a Chinese spy ship was spotted shadowing a US aircraft carrier during a critical trilateral military exercise involving the United States, Japan, and South Korea. The ship in question wasn't just floating alongside the USS George Washington, but it was actively monitoring the operations of one of the most advanced military forces in the world. This event took place in November 2024 during a joint military exercise called Freedom Edge, and it revealed not just the strength of the US Navy, but also the growing tension in the East Asia region, where global powers are locked in a battle for dominance. So, what kind of spy ship was that? What was it looking for? And why does this matter for the future of US-China relations? We'll break down this tense encounter, explain the technology and power behind the USS George Washington, and dive into the broader geopolitical implications of this spy game. This is important because this is a story about intelligence, military power, and what happens behind the scenes when the world's largest military powers face off in the shadows. The Freedom Edge exercise is no small event. It involves US, Japanese, and South Korean forces coming together to enhance interoperability, test military strategies, and strengthen defense cooperation. These three nations share a mutual interest in countering rising tensions in the region, particularly from China, which has been asserting its territorial claims in the East and South China Seas with increasing aggressiveness. At the center of this operation is the USS George Washington, one of the most powerful ships in the US Navy. As part of Carrier Strike Group 5, the George Washington plays a crucial role in the region's military strategy. It's not just a symbol of the US naval power, this is a highly sophisticated military platform, capable of projecting power across vast distances. But it's also a valuable target for those looking to understand the capabilities of the US Navy. And this is where the Chinese spy ship comes into play. The Chinese vessel, identified as the CNS Beijing, was spotted trailing the George Washington during the exercise. This ship is not an ordinary surveillance vessel. Its primary function is to gather electronic intelligence and signals intelligence. The Beijing is part of China's growing fleet of spy ships, which are deployed to monitor not only US naval activities, but also to track advanced technologies being tested during major military exercises like this one. You might be wondering, why exactly does China care so much about these exercises? After all, they're just drills, right? Well, not exactly. The CNS Beijing isn't just a passive observer, it's equipped with cutting-edge technology designed to intercept communications, radar signals, and even electromagnetic emissions from the ships and aircraft involved in the exercise. These types of spy ships are used to map out the enemy electronic signatures, which can help China gain crucial insights into US military tactics, technology, and even vulnerabilities. Imagine you're a military strategist in China, getting access to data on the F-35 Lightning, the world's most advanced stealth fighter, or the E-2D Hawkeye, an airborne radar system capable of detecting threats over vast distances. By tracking these exercises, China gets a glimpse into the future of naval warfare, and that's worth its weight in gold when it comes to modernizing their own military capabilities. And this type of surveillance is not new. The Beijing has been operating in the region since late October 2024, well before the Freedom Edge exercise began. The ship had already been spotted sailing south of Japan's Kyushu Island on October 30th, continuing its journey across the East China Sea. Its presence highlights China's ongoing effort to collect intelligence on US operations, which is why the encounter with the USS George Washington was so significant. So why does the USS George Washington draw so much attention from both China and its allies in the region? It's not just any aircraft carrier, it's a symbol of American naval power and one of the most advanced ships in the US Navy's arsenal. The USS George Washington is a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, weighing in at an impressive 100,000 tons. But it's not the sheer size that makes it so formidable. It's the technology on board. After a major modernization overhaul in 2023, the George Washington now boasts advanced carrier-based aircraft, including the latest F-35C Lightnings, a stealth strike fighter that can evade radar detection and deliver precision strikes on high-value targets. These stealth capabilities make the ship a much harder target for enemy forces to track or engage, which is exactly why it's such an attractive target for intelligence-gathering operations. The F-35C is just the tip of the iceberg. The George Washington is also operating with the E-2D Hawkeye, a highly advanced radar system that extends the carrier's ability to detect threats at long range. This system is crucial in ensuring the carrier's operational dominance in hostile environments, allowing it to identify and neutralize threats before they can reach the carrier. And don't forget about the CMV-22B Osprey, which provides logistical support and can fly as both a fixed-wing aircraft and a helicopter. This tilt-rotor aircraft can take off and land without the need for traditional launch catapults or arresting wires, giving the George Washington unparalleled flexibility in how it operates. But this incident isn't just about one ship trailing another. It's part of a much larger, more complex military rivalry between the US and China, one that's playing out across the world's oceans, from the South China Sea to the East China Sea and beyond. China's rapid military modernization, especially its naval expansion, has been a source of concern for the US and its allies. The Chinese Navy is now the largest in the world by hull count, with more than 370 ships and submarines in service. This means that for the US to maintain its naval dominance in the region, it has to constantly adapt, innovate, and outpace China's advancements. That's why operations like the Freedom Edge exercises are so vital. China has been increasingly assertive in its territorial claims over the South China Sea and other key maritime zones. The US and its allies, particularly Japan and South Korea, see these moves as direct threats to regional stability. So, the presence of Chinese surveillance vessels, like the Beijing, is no surprise. What we're seeing is the militarization of intelligence, where every military exercise, every movement of ships and aircraft is closely scrutinized for weaknesses or strategic advantages. So how does all of this impact the geopolitical tensions? This is where things get even more interesting. While this spy game is about military intelligence, it's also about geopolitics. The East China Sea is one of the most contested and volatile regions on the planet, with several countries laying claim to territorial waters. At the heart of the dispute is China's assertive expansion of its claims over the South China Sea and its growing presence in the East China Sea. The US and its allies, Japan and South Korea, are directly countering this. For the US, maintaining a strong presence in the region is crucial to ensuring freedom of navigation, deterring any aggressive moves by China, and preserving the balance of power in the Pacific. But these exercises aren't just about military tactics, they're about sending a clear message. The US will not back down from its role in the Indo-Pacific, and it will continue to support its allies, especially those in Japan and South Korea, who face the direct threat of Chinese territorial expansion. With tensions escalating in the region, we can expect more of these high-stakes surveillance encounters. As China's navy continues to grow, we'll likely see an increase in the number of Chinese spy ships tracking US operations, not just in the East China Sea, but throughout the Pacific Ocean. And as US technology continues to advance, China will likely double down on its efforts to collect data in order to close the technology gap. This also means more frequent joint military exercises, not just between the US, Japan, and South Korea, but potentially with other regional players like India. The strategic alliances are likely to deepen, and the frequency of these military drills could increase as the nations involved continue to sharpen their readiness to counter any potential aggression in the region. The encounter between the USS George Washington and the CNS Beijing may have been just a small moment in a much larger game of global military strategy, but it's a clear signal of where things are headed. With the Indo-Pacific becoming the new epicenter of global power dynamics, the stakes are higher than ever. So what does this all mean for the future? Will the US and China continue to face off in this high-tech, high-stakes game of military intelligence? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The waters of the East China Sea are only going to get more contested, and the race for military supremacy is far from over.